everyone, and welcome back to the Bearded Geeks, the weekly grab bag of topics covering movies, comics, video games, and TV. My name is Jages. I am the Beard Master. With me today, it's Patrick Brown.
G'day, mate. How
are you? Hey, pal.
I'm
good. I'm better than last episode. Remember last episode where I said I nearly died?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not dead.
That's right.
Thank fuck.
He's still
here,
with us,
I'm
mate.
around. I'm still with us. So I can talk shit about movies and whatever.
That's good. It's good
How
to be
are
back. Yeah, real good.
Good, that's good.
Yeah.
Fuck, we're going to talk about Glass today. I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong's newest movie,
Yeah.
Glass.
Went and had our mandate, didn't we?
We did.
Mandate.
Didn't hold hands, though. Not that there's anything wrong with that, because there's not. We've held hands before, haven't we?
I don't know, have we?
Remember that time
Was I
we walked
conscious?
through... That wasn't your hand I was holding. No, we've held hands before, I'm positive.
Unwillingly.
It's like this.
You usually do that thing, you're like, come here, mate. And
Come here, mate, hold
I'm
me
like,
hand.
oh, it's too real.
He loves it. Yeah, I'm good. I feel a lot better. But that's not to say I'm 100% there. I've got a bit going on, but we have an announcement. We have a big announcement, but we're going to leave that till the end of the episode. So we're going to talk some bullshit, and we're going to talk about Glass for a bit, and then we've got a bit of an announcement that we want everyone to know. We've got news for everyone, and we're just going to let you know about what's going on, and I'm talking about it too much, so let's get into it. How are you? What have you been doing over Christmas?
Oh, heaps, mate, heaps.
You just went fucking kayaking.
Yes, yeah, I did. Literally just got off a kayak and came straight here.
Did you wear your floaties?
I did. I had a life jacket on and...
It's PFD, mate. It's personal flotation device. It won't save your life. It's PFD.
It was good. And I haven't been on a kayak since I was about 12 or so.
High school probably, yeah.
I was like, oh, this is a bit worrying. But, you know, it was easy enough. And the father-in-law, he bought a new fresh one. So it was like, you know, a really high-class kind of one. Well, what do you call them? Real high quality one, and it's not just a kayak. It's got like all these, you know, little things on it and swivels, and
bar
it's got a little pedals so you can change the rudder at the back and
so
all this stuff. Yeah, all that stuff. And I was like, yeah, it was really cool. And little Mason went out there with him, and then I had a go, and yeah, no, it was fun. It's good.
Yeah, wicked.
Good morning out in the sun. So
it's not like high school where we had like the high school had like 3 shit kayaks that had like duct tape and shit and that on them, like holding them together.
I remember that, and they used to take us out, and we had to learn how to, if we roll underneath, we have to learn how to be able to roll back without panicking.
Abandoned ship!
A couple of people nearly drowned, but not quite.
I've never been kayaking, but it's something that like I really want to do. I know Russell has a kayak.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Russell Redmond.
Yeah.
He has a kayak, and he goes kayaking like down rivers
Oh,
and
yeah.
shit and that as well. He's I've seen some photos where he's just like coasting down the river in his kayak with a beer in his hand, and I'm like, that's the life, eh? That's what you
good.
want.
It's quite calming, really. It's
right.
nice. Yeah, it's good.
I might have to try it. I'd be the guy that fucking capsizes or something.
Yeah.
Underwater or whatever.
And what about you? What have you been up to through Christmas and all that?
It's working. I had Christmas Day off.
Oh, yeah.
And I pretty much worked all the way through it. But like I've been sick lately. The last week or two, I've been sick. I've gone home from work a couple of times. Because, like, my fucking, like, my balance and shit has been way off, and I get, like, real dizzy, and, like, I'm gonna puke and all this sort of shit. And the other day when I was driving in the car and whatever, and I was like, I got around the corner, I'm like, just the motion of the car, I was like, fuck, I'm gonna roll down the window because I'm gonna throw up.
Yeah, that's not right, is it?
Yeah, I've got, like, a viral infection in, like, my very inner ear, in my balance center or whatever. Sinuses, so there's nothing you can really take to get rid of it, but it just kind of goes away itself after a couple of weeks. But I've got like these, because the canal or whatever gets inflamed, you know, and they've given me these anti-inflammatories. And the chemist said when I went there, she's like, these are the big dog of anti-inflammatories. So she's like, if this doesn't fix you, she's like, nothing will.
Really?
And she's like, I shouldn't really say that. We'd get something that'd fix you, she goes.
I should probably take some of them.
Hey?
I should probably take some of them.
Fuck
I've still got that problem in my ear.
I'll hit you up, man. I'll hit you up.
I nearly had one of those head spins you had the other day too. I actually felt like I was going to pass out because, like I told you the other day, I've had this blocked ear for like 2 months now.
Yeah.
And but I can sometimes give it a bit of relief when you block your nose with your fingers,
You
and then you blow inside, and your eardrum kind of pops out, and it gives it a little bit of relief. But then I did that once, and it just
nearly went arse over
made me real spin out. I was spinning out just after I did it. I was like, "What the hell?" And it just threw everything out, and then I just kind of stopped for a minute. But yeah, I'm sick of having a blocked ear. It's annoying.
Yeah, it's something that's going around. I think. I think
while.
it's this time of year and that as well. Like, but I've got to go and have like a CT scan on my brain in like a couple of days. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
just to have a look, just to see if there's anything going on. I got like other sinus issues I've had for years and that as well. So I'm getting those checked out as well while I'm there. But no, it should be fine. I've just got to drink a fuck ton of water before I go have my head scanned.
Yeah,
which would be fun. But yeah, aside from that, been playing a lot of video games.
Yep.
Getting ready for Resident Evil 2 in a few days. I've been playing Resident Evil games. I replayed Resident Evil 3 on PS1, and nice. I smashed that in one sitting. No saves. Played for it from start to finish. Did it in 3 hours, 43 minutes, and 31 seconds. And I replayed Resident Evil 5. Finished off a game of Resident Evil 7 that I'd started, my second playthrough. I got the second ending and stuff. And yeah, so just kind of getting in the zone, in the Resident Evil zone for later this week. But now I'm back playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is fucking great. Yeah. I was just showing you
it looked good
before we started. Trying to talk you into it because it's fucking sick.
I loved the Origins. So
yeah, Origins is really good. But this is better. I really like this game. Aside from that, I've watched a lot of stuff. I've been to the Picatures quite a few times. I went and saw Bumblebee.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
I missed that. I wish I saw it.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was probably their best Transformers film, maybe?
Oh, the best one, yeah?
Nah, it was pretty good. I really liked it. Being a pure G1 Transformers fan, I liked the first 5 minutes the best. Yeah. Because it was like the war for Cybertron, and it was like Optimus Prime, and it was like all the Autobots and Decepticons, but they had it all like classic, like cartoon G1 designs.
Yeah, nice.
I was like, this is fucking heaven for me.
Doing the movement there.
I was jacking it, and I'm like, jacking off. Eyes are rolling in the back of my head. This is the best.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. It was really like what Bobby said when we first watched the trailer, and Bob said it's got the real like shape of metal feel to it, and that it kind of had a bit of that. It was kind of like it was a little bit like people are reading into it like very much, and like all these like sexual undertones and stuff like between her and like Bumblebee, and I won't go into it too much, but yeah, they're there. You can find them on the internet. Look them up. Yeah. I saw Aquaman.
Oh yeah, I missed that too.
The little Merthor.
Yeah, nice.
It's
Merthor.
I called it. What did I call it? An enjoyable mess.
Oh right.
I called that movie. It was fun. It was a fun movie, but they just kind of threw like everything Aquaman. They just like throw it all against the wall. Just throw it all in here, and it's a long movie. You probably could have done with like at least 15 minutes shaved out of it.
Oh, yeah.
But it's just somehow it's really fun. It's an enjoyable movie. Like some of the CG was like really great. And then a lot of it was not. There was some CG which was like real bad.
Too much.
Just a lot of little things. I'm kind of just breezing over it all instead of doing like a whole episode. I'm just like trying to breeze over it. There are a couple of things which, like Atlantis, the world of Atlantis. I think I told you this. They kind of did like the Thor thing, like with Asgard, where they kind of like they're flying over the city and that, and you get a bit of a look at everything, but you don't really get a feel for what the city is. Oh yeah. Not like what they did with Wakanda in Black Panther, because they did all that. They have the flying over like epic shots of the city, but then during the movie they have like, T'Challa walking through the city, and you see like the day to day, like the hustle and bustle of like the normal
more authentic.
Yeah, so alive. It feels, you get an idea of what the city's like, that it's lived in. They don't do that in Aquaman. You just get like they're breezing through one of their underwater stingray ships or whatever, and they just kind of show Atlantis. You don't really get a feeling for what the city is, like it's a real place, like it's tangible. They're like, there's none of that really.
Oh yeah.
But it was fun somehow. Yeah. It was enjoyable. Yeah.
Yeah, good.
I liked it.
Oh, that's good then. I'm glad they've got like one good solid one out of, no, they've got a few, but
Yeah, Aquaman, that's made over $1 billion.
Yeah, I'm still curious to know how it's all going to pan out. It's just, I don't know. I don't even know if they're doing the Batman and all that, are they? Like,
yeah,
Superman.
We're getting the Batman later this year. Matt Reeves starts shooting that movie later this year.
Yeah. So is that Ben Affleck? Because I'd really like to see him back.
I doubt it.
Okay. I hope they do just change cast. I don't mind if they keep the same, just keep it all flowing, keep going, and just recast. And I hate it when they have to reboot from the scratch and they're like, okay, now let's do another Batman origin story, and, because the other one fell through.
Well, they did that all through the 90s. We had Keaton for 2 movies, then we had Val Kilmer, no one said anything. Yeah. Then we had George Clooney after that, no one said anything.
See, I don't mind that.
It was a different time, and just back then we kind of didn't care, and the internet wasn't as prevalent, and, but...
As long as they don't make him look too different, keep him looking like he's a guy that's similar to Fleck.
I don't care how they do it. I just want a great fucking Batman movie.
Me too, yeah.
With, like, all the Batman hallmarks. Like, I want to see Batman being a fucking detective.
Yeah.
Like, he's the world's greatest detective. Show me him being the world's greatest detective.
Yeah, I really want him
Not like in The Dark Knight, where he's got, like, the chain gun thing, trying to extrapolate, put the fucking bullet back together so I can get the thumbprint off it. I still don't understand that movie. It's been fucking over 10 years, and I still don't understand that scene.
And I really want a Superman.
Trying to achieve.
I want a Superman movie too.
I love Man of Steel.
I just want
I'll defend that movie.
And I don't want one that's just like a big blown out Hollywood thing. I want it to be a bit more like just do what Superman does. Don't go making the world end again and all this stuff. Like do something a bit more serious and grounded or whatever.
I watched Bird Box. Shit.
Is it definitely a movie then?
It was definitely a movie. It was solid. You know, because Netflix now is like the new straight to DVD, where they're just like, we're just going to buy everything. Like, we don't have to produce any of this stuff. We can just buy it and just just put together a trailer, put a poster out like a month before it's meant to come out. And then that's it. Like, we don't have to spend anything on marketing.
What was it about the movie you reckon you didn't like? Was it more the idea of the movie, or was it that they just didn't pull it off, or did it fall flat? Did it have a good ending or anything like that?
I didn't like the way it was, like, fully executed. Like, a lot of people are comparing this movie to A Quiet Place. Like, A Quiet Place is the movie where you can't make sound, and Bird Box is the movie where you can't look.
Can't see it.
And you're like, okay, that's fine, but in horror movies and that, like, you kind of have to establish, like, the rules of the horror movie. So, like, in A Quiet Place, we know it's very simple. There are these things out there. Don't make any noise,
and they make
or
it
you're
clear
dead.
From the start,
Or you're dead. In this, it's not so clear cut because it's like people are seeing things, and what they see, whatever it is, and makes them have a vision of their greatest fear, or whatever their most deep-seated fear is, even though they may not know what it is. It makes them see it, and weird. It drives people to kill themselves.
That's weird, isn't it?
It is. And then people wear blindfolds and that the whole movie, but you don't really get a sense for...
So there's not an actual thing that you have to see, like a creature or something. It's more...
Whatever
it like a virus or something? Or
whatever it is, they don't show it. There's always like hints that something's chasing you or whatever. They never actually show it.
So you're never satisfied. You never realise what it's all about.
Then. Yeah, so you don't actually really know what the threat is. So like you don't know what to be afraid of, and we kind of don't know the rules fully, so we don't exactly know how to react in scenes and stuff. Yeah. So
you need some clarification.
It makes it really hard, you know? Because, A Quiet Place, it was space aliens... super sensitive to sound.
Yeah.
If they we don't know they're aliens at the beginning. We just think they're creatures or whatever that have just killed everyone. But if you make sound, they'll kill you. We find out at the end.
They've got super sensitive hearing.
Yeah, they've got super sensitive hearing. And whatever it is, they just want to get rid of it.
They get straight to you.
And stop it, But, in Bird Box, it's not as clear cut. So, like, people are seeing things, but... we don't actually see them. Is there something that makes them have these visions? Is it, but it's not defined properly. And there are other I've talked about this with other people. It's been weeks. I've kind of like forgotten about it already because I watched it before Christmas, I think, or just after Christmas. But it's definitely a movie. It's a it's a medium. Like like I was saying, Netflix is like the new straight to DVD now, and like if we just equate it in like those terms, there are a lot of bad movies on Netflix now, but this is kind of, for its faults, it's still a solid enough watch.
I'm finding that, like you said, that most of them, since they're treated as like straight to DVD, that a lot of them don't really turn out good, do they? Like, there's probably only about 40% or less that turn out to be pretty solid
that are
watches.
a decent watch, yeah. Because you used to get Netflix and you could watch a movie and you're like, oh, that was pretty good, more often than not. But now they're kind of just buying everything.
Which has given them a bad reputation because it's hard to trust. When something pops up, you're like, oh, you don't know whether it's, unless you hear about it, you don't know whether it's going to be a good watch.
Yeah, because it kind of started like last year with like Cloverfield Paradox.
Yeah.
Because like they announced it like the Super Bowl or whatever. This movie is going to be on Netflix straight after the Super Bowl. And you're like, oh, wow, this is like the new thing. And then we found out afterwards is that it was a bad movie and the studio wasn't confident in it, so they just sold it to Netflix.
Yeah.
So now if we find out that a movie has been sold, like a movie that's like the Mowgli movie.
Like if it's not going to turn up in the cinema, then it's not good enough.
Yeah, like the Andy Serkis, like Mowgli movie, like the dark Jungle Book interpretation. Like I knew that movie was coming. And then like a couple of months before, it's been announced it's going to Netflix, and they put out like a little video, and Andy Serkis put out a statement like, this is Netflix was the perfect platform for this movie and whatever. I'm like, so it's going to be shit. And then
have you seen it?
I watched a bit of it. I just heard that it was not very good.
I watched it all, and it is a medium. It's not bad. I almost kind of like it more than the other one, but that one also isn't the greatest. So yeah.
Contrary to that rule, though, you know the Holmes and Watson movie, the Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly movie that come out, the Sherlock Holmes and that. Apparently, the studio, obviously, they probably knew they had a stinker on their hands, and they tried to sell it to Netflix, and Netflix were like, we don't want it.
Yeah.
They were like, we don't want it. And then they had no
movie.
choice but to put it out. Released it in cinema. It had pretty mediocre marketing and stuff, and it tanked. It tanked something
Apparently,
fierce.
it's one of the worst watches. Like, it's unbearable in some ways.
Yeah,
apparently it's like a nothing. It's like a 2 out of 10 or something. You know.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't watch it. Like if it was on like a streaming platform or something, I had like half hour, just like out of morbid curiosity.
Yeah.
I'd be like, okay, let's just like, oh, this is fucking terrible.
Yeah.
You know. But there's that. What have you been watching? We've got like a joint thing, another Netflix thing we watched to talk about in a minute. Black Mirror, Bandersnatch.
Oh yeah.
Before that, have you watched anything? You've been watching anything else? You've been watching The Americans, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been getting into The Americans TV show.
What do you think of it?
And yeah, I really like it. It's so me and the wife will sit down, me and Alira, we'll watch that together. That's kind of our new binge thing now. So it's nice to have a show to watch and just binge together. So we usually watch that every night before bed, and yeah, I like it. It's good. It's basically a good spy show to watch. And look, to be honest, when I first heard, that it's a spy show, I'm not really into the whole spy stuff. I don't know if that's because anything I've watched that is spy related, movies or TVs beforehand, they're usually more exaggerated and thrown out like it's, like the Kingsman kind of stuff. It's way out there and unbelievable.
Yeah.
But this one is really good because it's actually real world stuff. It's like as if it really happened. It's based in 1981. It's
set during like the Cold War and stuff. Like we're getting toward the end of the Cold War.
Yeah, and it's basically just Russians that have trained themselves and grown up to pretend to be Americans. They got the accent now. They got the American accent, and they just live in the suburbs and pretend to be a normal family with kids. And it's really interesting because they're just like undercover. No one knows that they're really from Russia, and they're
Russian agents,
and they're really good at just they pull it off to be not silly and not over the top. It's very it's almost Jason Bourne like in a way.
Yeah, because the premise of the show is they live in the suburbs.
Yeah.
These these two agents who are married. They're technically husband and wife. They've started a family, you know, for their cover and stuff. You know, they've got a few kids that they've had between themselves. You know, they're in America in the 80s. They've been in the US kind of undercover in the suburbs for fucking God knows how long, 10 years, probably 15 years, maybe longer.
Yeah, I think it's near close to 20 years.
Yeah, they were planted in, like, America, you know, as you're going to be a couple and all this stuff, and you're going to do all this underhanded Russian fucking tactics, you know, keep an eye on the bloody Americans and stuff, and no one's going to know.
They just feed information back. And
yeah, where the show starts is that an FBI agent moves in across the road. Yeah. Like, and then it's kind of like this cat and mouse kind of between the two.
Yeah, it's quite interesting.
But then it's like a family drama in that as well, because the husband, he's kind of... You know, it's getting toward the end of the Cold War. He's kind of lost faith in the mission, and he's kind of actually, like, fallen in love with his wife, whereas she's still kind of like, you know, Russia, the motherland, still carrying out missions.
And he loves America too, in a way. Like, he's grown to like this country, but he still is faithful to Mother Russia. And his kids in that are American as well. And they have no idea they're spies too. The kids they just think it's a normal family, which is really interesting, because it's like, are they going to find out, you know?
And they've got, like, the cool costume element in that as well. When they go out on missions, it's kind of like an alias kind of thing. They always wear like costumes, like wigs and fake noses,
and I love how they
change their appearances and stuff.
I just find it really interesting as well when they kind of like, they treat it as more like an open marriage too. So because they're spies and they're dedicated to that, they're not really husband and wife. Well, they are, but when they have to, they go out and they'll have to sleep with other people and all that kind of stuff. So it gets real down to the gritty. You know, they have to do things that they don't want to, but they go straight at. They don't, without even asking any questions. They just go straight for it and do what they have to. And
but the husband in that, he's kind of found that over time he's actually grown to love, you know, his wife.
Yeah.
And, you know, he kind of is now starting to lean more toward that, like his actual, because the kids are their kids. They're the children that they've had together, and he's kind of leaning toward that. You know, his kids are American, and, you know, they don't know. They just lead normal lives. And, he's kind of like...
It's a great show.
And it's kind of like this cool tug-of-war kind of subterfuge. I've only ever watched the first season. How far in are you?
So we're midway through season 2 now and going towards season 3. And there's 6 seasons total, and I've heard that every season gets better and better. There's no seasons that just get flat and then you got to force your way through it. There's like, apparently every season just keeps getting way more better and interesting. So I think we're in for a bit of a ride, so it'll be good.
It's just one of those shows that fucking flew under the radar for so many years.
I never heard about it.
We got the Blu-ray release here of the first season a couple of years ago, and I bought it kind of just on a whim and watched it. I'm like, this is a really fucking good show. Like, why have I never heard of this? Why isn't anyone else talking about this? And then, like, I think when the last season came out last year, they I heard that it was the best season of them all. It was a great finale and all these other things. And
so I recommend that one.
Fuck yeah. Let's talk about Bandersnatch real quick for a little bit.
Yeah, let's get through that real quick.
We're big Black Mirror fans. I wasn't initially. You fucking talked me around to Black Mirror.
Hounded you to watch it.
And then I binge watched all of it, and I fucking loved it.
Good, isn't it?
And
you love Bleak.
I fucking love Bleak. He knows it. It's right up my alley. I loved it.
There's some Bleak shit in that show.
Bandersnatch was announced, and we haven't got, like... What are we up to now? We're up to season 4.
5 is coming.
Is it 5?
Yeah, it's 4 seasons already.
Okay. So we haven't had the 5th season yet, but we had, like, this one standalone Black Mirror film called Bandersnatch. It was like on average, it's about a 90-minute experience, I believe. I think.
I had no idea it existed until you said, "Hey, it's just popped up. You know, check it out."
Yeah, it's a on Netflix. It's like a one-off. It's like a choose-your-own-adventure film.
Yeah.
So like the old choose-your-own-adventure books, you know, you're reading through it, and then you get to a crossroad. The doors are shutting. Which way do you go? Do you left or right? If you go left, turn to page whatever. If you go right, turn to page whatever. And then you pick an option, and then you go, and then like you choose your own adventure, like the books is called. But Bandersnatch is like the first ever like interactive film, like choose your own. So you can, you know, in the beginning, it makes the choices very simple, kind of just like warm you up to it. So like, so like they're not essential. They're just like,
pick what cereal you want.
Yeah, here's the tutorial level. Which cereal do you want to have? Dunk,
Like the dad just asked the guy at the table, he's like, what cereal would you like today? And it's quite seamless, isn't it? Because as the choices popped up for you, a little black thing kind of fades up at the bottom and it's like one or the other.
Yeah, and it's got like a time bar of 10 seconds counting down.
They're still filming and it's like, the guy's just looking and kind of like thinking and you get, in that time, you get to choose and then it's seamless and he just goes,
it effortlessly, seamlessly goes to the next scene, whatever you picked. Perfect. It only ever like chunked for me once.
Oh, did it?
And that was in like the 3 times I watched it, because I watched it like 3 times.
Yep.
But yeah, it's essentially, what's the story? It's about this young kid. He's probably only 16, 17 or whatever. Yep. He's like a video game like programmer, like self-taught and stuff.
In the 80s.
Yeah, he's like adapting this book called Bandersnatch. And he wants to make it into a video game and takes it to this video game company and they want to do it. But he's like, I have to do it on my own though, because that's the way the writer did it. He like did it all on his own, so I want to do the game all on my own from home. But there's like all this controversy and mystery because the writer of the actual Bandersnatch book, he went crazy and he was all about like conspiracy theories and charts and all this stuff. And I think he murdered his wife and these kind of things. And he ended up in a mental asylum or whatever. And yeah, the movie kind of follows that track where he, as he's, creating this game, his life begins to unravel as well, for odd reasons.
Yeah, weird stuff happens too.
But it's like a choose your own adventure narrative, so it gets to different scenes.
And it's tricky too. Some of the choices, you're like, you can't tell if it's good or bad, and I wanted to go down a good path and try and get a good ending. But sometimes it's really hard to choose, isn't it? Some of the choices aren't clear. Yeah,
it's kind of like a commentary thing on like the choose your own adventure kind of idea as well. So like, here's a film that you're completely in control of. It's your experience.
Yeah.
You choose what to do. But then, well, spoiler alert, as you kind of go through the film, you find out that selections you make don't really matter because the movie is always steering you down a certain path regardless, whereas we think we're in control, but we're actually not. It's them controlling us. It's them directing us to make specific decisions, because you can get to a certain point, where like there's a scene where 2 characters are going to jump off a balcony and then you got to choose. You're like, who's going to jump? Is it going to be me or is it going to be you? And I decided, bleak ending, I'm going to jump. And then I jumped and my character died, and then it like threw me back like 15 minutes earlier to
and it's
a
like
selection.
try again.
And it's like try again. It's like choose this option.
Yeah, that threw me out.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I thought it was trying to trick me, and that's where I went, me too. I decided to jump because I was like, it's just you're on drugs. I didn't think he'd really die, but he died. He just splat on the ground. But it's really weird. I couldn't understand it. There was that was good though. I didn't mind. I really liked how it all worked. I'd like to see it done with other Black Mirror episodes.
I liked the way it kind of it would end. So the film was always about the creation of this game, and the happier ending you had, the worse reception the game got. But the bleaker ending you had, the better reception the game got.
Yeah.
So like, this is 5 out of 5. This is outstanding. Don't worry that he murdered his own dad and cut him up and fucking buried him in the backyard or whatever. But yeah, it was really cool. I really enjoyed the experience. I did it once, and then as soon as I was done, I played through it again. Yeah. Like I did the whole thing again. So I sat there for like 4 hours and just did the whole thing like in, for 4 hours straight. And then, because I play Netflix through my PS4, I found, like, when you click in, like, one of the sticks or whatever, it brings up, like, a time code, like, thing in the corner, and it tells you how long the program you're watching actually runs for. And when I accidentally clicked on it, it brought up that there was, like, I think there was, like, 5 hours of content there.
Yeah.
So there was like 5 hours of footage all up, and you jump through, and I think it'd take you forever to see it all. And apparently, there's an ending that's like so hard to get to. Even the creators of the show couldn't fucking get back to it.
I missed the code at the end. You're supposed to type in some code that pops up, and I just
the phone number,
one number at the end. I was like, damn it, and I just missed it. So that was one little ending I didn't get to see, but. Yeah.
But then there's like a real meta narrative in that too, because like when the computer and that speaks to you, it's like, who are you? Like because the character feels like his life's being controlled. Like as you get through the movie, it's like
he's like, who the fuck is this?
He's like, who is this? He's like, and when he's at the psychiatrist and stuff, he's like, I feel like I feel like someone's in control of my life. And I'm like, holy fuck, it's me.
And it's us. We start thinking it's us.
And then you can get to a certain point where his computer talks to you, and there's like two options. It's like, I forget what the second one is, but the first one's like Netflix. And then he's like, what's Netflix? And it's like, and then you're like, Netflix, it was like explain or not explain.
Yeah,
like,
you get to choose. And it's like you're talking to him, isn't it?
Netflix is like a streaming thing, and this is an interactive movie. I'm in control of you. And he's just like, what the fuck?
Like, what the fuck is
and
Netflix?
I'm like, this is so meta. This is so out there. This is meta as fuck.
It was a cool feeling. That was a really cool experience.
And then there's like another fight scene thing, and you can be like, once you get out of it, you find out that you're on the set of like the actual movie and it's filming, and the character doesn't know that he's on the film set or whatever.
Some of those things threw me out, and it changed the experience for me. I was on a roll and I was really enjoying it, but yeah, like those bits. And I don't know if we're going to spoilers or what, but
we pretty much spoiled it already.
Well, it was just like bits when they're like, yeah, like I told you once before. I think when you went to the therapist, and then I can't remember, but. Turns out there's like a set, and it's like a movie set, and then even the dad's sitting there on an iPhone, and it's supposed to be in the 80s, and it's all like a Netflix set there.
Yeah, they're on the set. He's like, I was going to jump out the window. He's like, why would you jump out the window?
And that just made me instantly it made me think that the entire show? Is everything a movie set and it's just fake? And then it just made me it just kind of ruined everything else for me. I was
you're reading into that way too fucking
I probably
much.
am, but
that was just one of the like fake endings.
Just
and
a weird ending, yeah.
But yeah, you're reading into
that's
that way too fucking much.
That's where it just confused me, and it made me think, oh shit, does that mean everything is like that? And
no, not at all. That was just one possible ending. That's all that was.
Oh, that's
out of infinite possible endings and stuff. But
threw me
it's like a fucking. It's just like a downward spiral. Like you just keep going, and there are like all these different endings, and they're all so fucking out there, and I loved it. I loved the fucking shit out of it. I can't wait. Can't wait for the next season of Black Mirror. We still have to
do that again, I reckon.
We still have to do a Black Mirror episode as well.
Yeah. I've got some favourites. There's some. Really
so do I. We should just do like our 3 favourite Black Mirror
pick
episodes.
out. Yeah, we should do a Black Mirror episode.
I'll have to rewatch them all again though, but yeah, we should definitely do that.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. I would recommend Bandersnatch, definitely.
Yeah, it's worth the experience too.
Do you want to talk about Glass?
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's fucking do it.
That movie, Jesus.
Are we going to go full spoilers?
Oh, I'd love to.
All right.
I'm sure a lot of people have seen it now, so they probably want to hear about some spoilers.
I'll say we're going to go full spoilers, but in the beginning, we'll try to do the movie from start to finish. So I might be a bit cagey at the beginning, and then we'll
unleash on it.
Well, we'll consider this whole thing full spoilers.
Yep.
Patrick Brown, we went to the cinema and saw Glass.
Yes, and I was so excited.
You was. Can you hear the disappointment in his voice already, folks?
Bloody
Before we went, I rewatched Unbreakable. I put Split straight on after that, and I watched it. And then a few hours later, we went to the movies and saw it, and you watched like a 10-minute recap video on YouTube. Is that correct?
Like a IGN did it, and
everything you need to know about Unbreakable.
They ran through Unbreakable and just ran through Split, and like just so I knew, a refresher in my mind of like I already knew. I just wanted to kind of get more of a visual.
Is it fair to say that we were looking forward to this movie, Patrick Brown? Not like as a must-see of the year, but
I'm a massive fan of the others. Like I've always, Unbreakable's been around for 20 years, nearly, I think.
Yeah, fucking nearly.
And I've since that first came out, I remember watching it when I was way younger, and I loved it. I've always been quite strong about that movie. I love it. And
I love that movie too. I would probably consider it nearly a masterpiece.
Yes, it's good, and it's. It was, you could tell it was focused on, it had a bit of passion in it, like the story was just right, and it was nice and slow burn, nice to watch.
Although it wasn't as well received then, it wasn't as critically. I feel like if that movie had come out maybe, 5 or 7, maybe 10 years later, like just after the superhero genre kind of started, maybe it would have been more successful, but for that movie, what it is when it came out, I mean, I loved it when I saw it. And I still love it now.
And then Split comes around, and that really threw us out. I didn't know even that was linked into the universe.
We just saw the trailer, and we were like, that movie looks sick. Now that movie looks really cool, like James McAvoy, like channeling all these different personalities and stuff. And like from what we saw in the trailer, like this looks pretty interesting. We'll go see that.
We were so excited at the end.
I suspected we were it was connected cinema, to Unbreakable, and I was right.
And we're watching the end credit bit pop up, and then you were like, oh, is it? And then you see Bruce Willis at the end, and it's all linked in, and it ties in together, and we're just like, oh, we're like grabbing each other.
And that was great. That was great. Like the small, kind of like it's in that world of Unbreakable.
Especially at the end of that movie, because I think we felt really good about that movie. We were like, this was a really bloody good watch.
Even if it didn't have that end tag, it was still a great movie.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Everything that, because I've been like checking out reviews and stuff since we've seen the movie, and I've been trying to get other people's opinions and stuff and see what other people thought about it.
Yeah.
And everybody that talks about Split, 95% of them talk about it was the end of it. Like, it was that end tag that made the movie for them, and that's what they love so much about it.
That's what got us going, wasn't it?
But not just that, like, that was great. That was kind of like the cherry on top. But I love that movie. It was really well done. It looked great. James McAvoy was fantastic. I really liked Anya Taylor-Joy. I think she's great. But that was just the cherry on top.
The best thing about that movie, it felt like it hadn't really... That was quite fresh for me. Nothing I'd really seen before. Like the whole Split personalities, and each personality actually has an effect on the body too. So one, is diabetic or whatever, but the other one's like impenetrable. His skin, if he turns into the beast, then he's like stronger. He climb up walls and shit, and his skin is tougher.
It's hardened skin, and
and it's an actual effect on the physical form too on each character, and I love that. And the whole movie was just perfect. And then to have that in the same universe was just it kind of made me, because it was such a good movie, made me kind of proud that I was like, yes, this is great. This is like a good sequel for Unbreakable.
It's expanded that world just that little bit more. Like we've just kind of like we peered through the keyhole just that one bit at that world, at like a bigger world that Unbreakable and Split is set in.
And then like we're waiting on Glass, and it's supposed to be, I was really hoping for this to be the perfect trilogy. You've got Unbreakable, which is obviously Bruce Willis, Split based on James McAvoy's character. They're kind of getting their own movies, and then Glass is supposed to be Samuel L. Jackson's kind of, his time to shine and do all that, and we get all three in the one movie as well. It's kind of like a standoff or whatever, and I was really hoping for a good trilogy, so that down the track you share it with your kids when they're older, and I'm like, oh, this is a great trilogy. You got to watch this and that, and then
Did you get a good trilogy, Patrick?
No, they they screwed it. The
controversy.
The director just shat on it. Look, I won't go that far. It's not the worst. It's not a bad movie. I'm just disappointed because he did a lot of things in this movie to just... I feel like he's almost tarnished some of the others movies now, and it's just not the way I wish it turned out.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not the worst.
So what you're saying is you saw Unbreakable, you saw Split, and then you knew Glass was coming, and you expected something... You expected probably a few...
Expected justice.
You expected like... There's like a possible 2 or 3 ways I see this movie could go. Yeah. And then the movie you saw was none of those things.
None of them. Really. It was none of what I expected, and it was kind of like it felt like the director didn't know what to do with them. That's what it felt like for me. Like he was... I almost feel like he's let all the current day superhero generic stuff kind of, like, they're great, all these other superhero stuff, Marvel and all that, do their thing, but I feel like he's let that have an effect on his stuff. Whereas if you look at the first 2 films, he has his own formula, he does his own thing, and that's what I loved about them. He had his own, he was doing unique superhero
the
way,
deconstruction of like the superhero, the superhero tropes.
He had his way of doing things, and in this one he tried to do that still, but there's some cringy bits. It turns into a bit of a, I can see bits seeping through. It's like he tried to lean it into more of a way that we, it's just not what the other two did. If I could, I'll break it down a little bit. First one, we have Unbreakable, and that was, look, we had an interesting story there. That's the way I'm going to describe this. I wanted this last movie to be interesting plot, something that grabs you and intrigues you. The first one had that with he's like, holy shit, I just survived a train crash and I'm the only survivor, and you're like, and he's trying to come to terms with believing that he actually is unbreakable, and then
is this guy actually
do with these powers?
A super person?
It's gripping.
There's this man who is like a comic book fanatic, and he is telling him that you are a superhero, inverted commas.
Yeah, and
he's super powered, and then he progresses through the film and kind of pushes himself in these different directions. And it's a guy kind of coming to terms with, is he this thing that this man believes I walked away from a train crash which killed everyone?
That note on his thing, and he's like, have you ever been sick in your entire life? And then it just like hits him. He's like, no, I haven't. And then, and it's just really gripping, that whole movie. And then the way he even follows through with what he has now and discovered, he stops the serial killer and saves some people and things like that. And it takes its time through the whole movie, and it's done really well. And then you have Split. Also has a really intriguing and gripping story, and it's all focused. It's quite a small area. It's all based in this one little warehouse, and it's just this creepy psycho who has split personalities, and you slowly learn about all those personalities and how it affects the body that he has, and what, and are these girls going to escape? It's like really gripping. You're kind of on the edge of your seat half the movie, and that's how I found. And that's a really good movie. They pulled that off. But then you go into Glass, and this is like, there's no gripping or interesting storyline in that movie. I didn't think there was nothing that made me want to know what's going to happen next. It's just kind of like, it really annoyed me when, at the beginning, and look, I liked the first quarter. I loved it, and seeing, Bruce Willis back, and they went through all that. I really liked all that. But when and he finally got to fight James McAvoy. They were having the battle there at the beginning. But then the stupid thing happens where, they get stopped mid-battle with flashlights and stuff, and there's like a SWAT team stopping it.
And they get captured, and they end up in
because the first two, right, they were very real world. It was like, it felt believable. Every step they took was like, that felt like, that could happen in the real world. Like, even the way Bruce Willis was walking through lobbies and stuff.
The way it's being portrayed, like, I can believe this.
But then in Glass, when that happens, as soon as that happened, and then these SWAT teams are stopped with their flashlights all over and stop, don't move kind of thing, and I'm like, I don't see that happening. Like, because they're like, and there's this woman just standing there like she's bloody Xavier from X-Men or something. And it's like, I was like, right, now they've just gone stupid now, and it really just broke me away from the whole real world, and they've instantly thrown in some asylum, and it's barely guarded by you, like 4 people guarding the whole place, and it's like it just went real stupid from there and broke away from what the reality. I wanted it to be one of those real life superhero, not superhero. I keep saying that word, but it just broke away from that.
You wanted it to be a worthy continuation of the first two films that came before.
They didn't have any of that, like I said, none of that interesting, gripping kind of story. It was just like, as soon as they went in the asylum, it got real boring, and then nothing really happens. They barely even leave the grounds by the end, and it ends. Yeah, like it's just...
Pat's gone off. He's gone off on a rant for the last 5 minutes.
That's one of the main things I wanted to get out, was just what they've done with this movie. Wasn't interesting. They could have done so many interesting things, but
all right,
yeah, all right. I'll let you talk. Sorry.
No, you're right, mate. That's a fair opinion. That's obviously a fair opinion.
Yep.
Now, fair to say, this movie is going to be incredibly divisive between general audiences and obviously with critics, fans of the 2 films that came before it, and just like fans of M. Night Shyamalan in general. Now, Jages, I felt sort of the same way when I left the cinema, because I I'm having another Mandy situation with Glass because when I went to watch Mandy, I decided that I'm just going to sit down and I'm just going to watch this for what it is. I'm not going to delve too deep. I'm just going to take this on surface value and I'm going to watch it and then I'm going to go from there. I watched it and just as a base bloody audience on the film that I just watched, surface level, 3.5 out of 5. Right? Watched it again. Spent days unpacking it, looking into it further, doing research, watching it again. Second time around, I absolutely loved it. I adore the movie. 5 out of 5. It was my best film of last year. Glass, I feel for me, is the same. For some reason, some chemistry in me has changed. When I go to see a film now, I can't ever take it on the first viewing I do. I have to get those expectations out of the way. Yeah. And then by the time I watch it the second go around, I can give my true opinion of a film. When we watched Glass the other night, because we went to a late night screening, it was like a 9:30 screening. We didn't get out till it was nearly midnight by the time we got out. And then we spent nearly 40 minutes standing out the front of the cinema in the middle of the night talking about it, pretty much doing a podcast right out in front of the cinema.
We should have got the recorder out then and recorded it all because we were going off.
And we were talking about it. We were just getting it all off our chest.
Because I felt like I had to.
I can't believe this. I didn't agree with this. These characters I love so much, and then this has happened, and blah, blah, blah. And I got it all off my chest. Yeah. I've had days to unpack it, and to be honest, I've come around. Ooh. Not completely. Because I will say, Glass, the film, it's not perfect. It's very far away from perfect. It's not flawless. It's not faultless because there are a lot of faults. There's some hokey dialogue. There's some bad scenes. There's some stuff that's shoehorned in. I normally love Sarah Paulson, but in this, she's just pretty blur. She's the psychiatrist or whatever. Yeah,
hated it. I actually hated her character in this.
Spencer, or I can't remember what Doug Staples.
See, I don't mind her either, but in this, she was really annoying or something. There's something irritating.
She was just fucking annoying.
It was just like, especially when she's trying to tell them you're not special, and it's like, and I know what they were getting at there, but by the end they explained that. But by that point, watching that, you get really irritated. Like, just fuck off.
Well, let's get out some of the plot.
Yeah.
And then we'll go into it a bit further. So Glass sets up. It takes place... Now, this is one of the problems I had with it pretty much from the beginning. It's set 3 weeks after the end of Split. So it comes in 3 weeks. We've got David Dunn and his son. They now have like a security business, and he's kind of like the Batman of their situation. He's kind of like the Oracle. He's the guy in the chair. He's the guy sitting at the home base on the computer with the headset on, talking to him like through the microphones. Like, where is this building? Red Brick Clay or whatever. He's like, there's an old brick building next block away. Like, he's the guy in the chair.
I quite liked all that.
He's trying to hunt down Kevin Wendell Crumb, the Beast, the Horde. He's trying to hunt them down because after the end of Split, he's kidnapped another group of girls. I think they said he'd kidnapped another group. They were killed or whatever, and now he's kidnapped another 3 or 4, and he's holding them. And David Dunn's trying to hunt him down and find him and save these girls. So eventually they run into each other and they fight and they get captured and they end up in this, what was it, Ravenclaw bloody mental institute with Sarah Paulson, who's like a psychiatrist. I'm a psychiatrist who specifically deals in people that believe they are superheroes. Like, is there like a credit for psychiatry out there like this? Like, okay, fair enough.
Oh, Jesus.
Let's not dive into that too much yet. And so she's pretty much said to them, I've been given total run. I've got 3 days to, prove that you guys aren't superheroes. She doesn't really specify, or else you're going to end up in institutions locked up for the rest of your lives. So she's essentially saying, like, I've got 3 days to kill you guys, or you're just going to get locked away for the rest of your days. Now, in this institute, Elijah Price, Mr. Glass, is in this institute as well. In this film, he is pretty much like chemically comatose, so they keep him sedated for like the first half of the movie. Like, he's essentially
even more. It was like 3/4, wasn't it? Well, probably not that much.
Probably half. Probably half to nearly like 3/5 of the movie.
He got
the
the least screen time anyway.
He did, but that's not necessarily a bad thing.
For his own movie.
Come on, Pab, we're going to get into that in a minute.
All right.
But then essentially it's these three guys in this institute, and she's trying to convince them that, you know, you're not actually special, you're not actually superpowered. Here are the reasons why you're not. And then it's these guys in this institute, you know, they're conflicted in that now because they're like, am I actually not a super person? Is the Beast not actually, you know, the be-all, end-all, avenging angel personality?
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
The fact that she's like telling them this, you're not, you think that you're special, but you're not, and like she's trying to tell them. But then again, they've gone and spent probably hundreds of thousands of dollars setting up their cells with like things to stop them, you know, all this gear to stop Thingo from breaking out.
So he's
so obviously they believe they are because they've spent so much trying to stop them.
Trying to break them out of their psychosis.
Anyway, I'll be quiet.
Kevin Cell, the Horde, they have like these, what do they call them? Like hypnosis lights or whatever like that. Yeah. Like whenever these lights flash,
big floodlights or something like that.
It forces another personality to come forward. So they have these lights so they can use them as essentially just to have James McAvoy play through all these different personalities. And David Cell is like, you know, the walls are X-inch, you know, thick steel, and there are all these high-pressure hoses because he believes his weakness, his kryptonite is water, and they've got like a
little video of him choking or something.
They've got a 15,000 gallon fucking tank of water connected to his cell or whatever. And yeah, it's essentially these guys, you know, are they not superheroes? Are they? And then it kind of goes from there, but then the kind of tail end, we move into spoiler territory. Now, fair to say, like I was saying, the most probably divisive aspect of this movie is the end, like the third act, which is probably where...
That's where...
While I was watching it, it kind of came undone for me, and it obviously came very undone for you.
That's the main part that threw it all out for me, the ending. Like, I could have been happy with the first half and the first 3/4.
Yeah.
But if it ended differently, I would have been like, okay, that was not bad. You know?
Can I say, I liked the first probably half of the movie.
Yeah.
It did sag in the guts, like around the middle. The pacing in that was a bit off, and we're in the institution for ages, and you're like, is this going to go anywhere? Like, what's going on? We're lingering around here, like, a lot.
Yeah.
Now, I just want to poke, like, one major hole in the movie to begin with, because we get into this mental institute, and Sarah Paulson's there, and she's telling David, she's telling Crumb and Elijah Price, they've got the three of them there, and she's essentially telling them, you're not superheroes, you know, you've all had trauma or whatever, I can prove to you these are the reasons why you're not superpowered. And then they kind of start to believe it in that as well. But the biggest kind of hole that I can poke in it is because we've had 2 movies previous to this, and we know for a fact that Bruce Willis is a superpowered individual. We saw how much he could lift. We saw like his instinct gift when he touches someone and he has like a flash. Like in the first movie, the scene where he's in, I think it's like the train area or whatever, and he's just letting people brush past him, and the sanitation guy brushes past him, and then he gets the flash of this guy where he went to this guy's home, he's like, I really like your house, let me in, and then he murders this guy. Like, you can't fake that. Like, we've seen, that's your superhero power in action. And he follows this guy, he goes to the house, and he finds out, yes, he did murder this guy. Yes, the wife's dead. He's got the kids tied up in the basement. And he deals with him. So we have seen Bruce Willis's superpowered...
And he's got 20 years of it, too. He's probably done a lot in those 20 years and saved a lot of people. So he's very well aware that he's special.
But what I'm actually saying is, like, we've seen his superpower in action. Like, we've seen him do stuff.
Exactly, yeah.
Like, at the beginning of Glass, like, there are these guys who, they do a Superman punch, but in Australia, we call them coward punches, where people are just minding their own business, walking down the street, and then someone will just come up behind you and king hit you in the back of the head, and just knock you out or whatever. So these 2 idiot guys, they're filming it for fucking YouTube. David goes back to their house and he lures one of them into the kitchen, and then you see this guy come flying from out of frame over the kitchen table, hit the wall, and then fall down to the ground.
I love that.
So obviously no regular man could. I couldn't pick you up and throw you.
That made me think that he's
10 feet across the room in a straight line, and you hit the wall and slide down to the ground.
When I saw that one moment and how far he got thrown and the impact, I was like, wow, it almost did feel like the 20 years that he's been practicing, like he's stronger and he knows how to just, really deal with people. He knows like
his
that.
Limits and that. Like he push himself.
I love that.
Yeah, what I'm saying is we've seen their superpowers in action. We know for a fact that they are superpowered. Like in the second one, we saw like the Beast personality finally come forward, and we saw him climb walls. We saw him bend bars. We saw him just eating people's flesh, like ripping off flesh, like off people.
And that's what really annoyed me when she's starting to try and tell them that, and they kind of go along with it, especially David. And the fact that he's answering her questions, I was sitting there thinking, if this was done properly, they would have thought about what his responses would have been. He'd be thinking, I'm not going to talk to you, you're a stranger to me. And she's asking, and he's actually unveiling his powers. He's saying, I can brush past people and I can read their mind, or I can see moments and scenes that they've sins and things like that.
Like a sin, yeah.
And he's explaining it to her, and I'm thinking straight away, you shouldn't be just telling her this. You're in this institute. Obviously, they're going to think you're more insane, and it's going to make he's digging his own hole by, that didn't just seem like a response that should have happened. No, that's because he's kind of digging it deeper and making himself look more insane. Like, that's what I was getting out of that.
Yeah, it was one of the harder aspects to believe because we had seen them in action, and for her to come in and go, try to, disprove that fact. Like we've already seen it all, and then they start to believe. A lot of this movie is about belief and that as well. Like you find that the characters in this movie, when they don't believe that they are superpowered, their powers are limited. Like there's getting toward the end of the movie where David tries to break out of his cell, like he's running and he's shouldering the door and like nothing happens, and he's like, he kind of rubs his shoulder, and then he does it a couple of more times, and then by the third or fourth time he does it, and there's a massive fucking dent in the door. And then when he sees that, he begins to believe, and that again, and then within a couple more hits, he boom knocks the fucking door off the hinges. And then that's it.
It's cool.
Where am I going to go now? Because there's so much.
Well, and the way that I saw. The way they treated the water in this, the way that David has a weakness of water, I almost felt like they were treating it more like, it almost felt like they did treat it like it was his kryptonite, but in a way, like way worse than it would affect a normal person. Like, thought they were saying it makes him weaker and that, like he was in the water tank and that, I know that, and probably nearly drowned, but he was okay. He got out of it. He was just out of breath. But
this is a really important fact. This was like one of my big argument points. I really want to come back to this.
Yeah.
But we'll come back to the water and that in a minute. But
if that was a real person, they wouldn't be that weak after that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It just got a bit ridiculous. I mean,
all right.
The way she was talking.
I'm going to totally throw that in your face in a minute.
Yeah, go
on. Let's just talk about generalities. I thought this film looked fucking amazing. I thought like the color choices and that were great. Like the setups and that, like cinematography and that was really fucking good. Shymalan had a cameo, which was terrible.
That was stupid.
They're always terrible though.
Yeah.
I dropped my pen. They're always terrible. But this, like, just real quick, I cringed at this because his cameos are always like one of the worst parts of his movies, especially in like Lady in the Water. But in this, because he was in Breakable, he played like a drug dealer or whatever in the first one, and then in Split, he was like the security guy of the building that the psychiatrist and that lived in. And in this one, Shyamalan turns up and he's like at David's like home security business thing, and then he sees him and he's like, "Don't I know you?" He's like, "Didn't you used to work security at the stadium?" He's like, "Yeah, but I retired." And he's like, "Oh, I used to hang out with a bad crowd back then, but now I've turned my life around." I'm like, you didn't really need to explain that. You didn't really have to explain that at all. Like, I'm sure somebody would have picked that up. Like he was like, these are sequels. Like, are they the same guy or whatever? But even like, it was kind of like a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation, because he did it and you're like, fuck, that was bad. Like, you didn't need to put that in there. But if he didn't do it, some internet fool would have been on the comments like, how come he was in the first fucking movie? Like, and this is a direct sequel and it's the same guy. Is he the same fucking guy or whatever? And it's just like, but yeah, fuck, where am I going? Yeah, it looked great. The performances were fucking great. Like, everyone, like, really turned up, especially fucking Bruce Willis. Because in the last probably 10 years, Bruce Willis just turns up and he's like, hey, let's just do it. Sleepwalks through the entire film and then gets paid and goes back to his mansion.
He was good in this.
In this one, he was really good.
He
this
looked
was like,
good too for his age.
Yeah, this was like one of the best things he's done in a really long time.
I wish he had more screen time though. Yeah, I wish he had more to do with it.
Talking about Glasso, we'll talk about Elijah Price. We'll just go spoilers because
Yeah.
Elijah is meant to be sedated in this because obviously he's like, they explain his sedation by, he was in his cell one day and he must have saw a blueprint that an electrician or whatever was using about the facility. He memorized the blueprint and he broke out of his cell or whatever, and he managed to shut down all the power to the entire institute. So that's why we sedate him and all that now, because he's too dangerous to be like left to his own devices. It turns out that he's not actually sedated because he's got like a bit of sleight of hand going. When he gets the tablets and then he switches them out for aspirin, and he's been taking aspirin. He's just been faking the sedation. And eventually he teams up with the Horde. He gets in to see the Horde and he wants to see the Beast. And there's great scenes like between James McAvoy and Samuel L. Jackson. I thought James McAvoy was fucking brilliant in this movie.
Yeah, he's good.
Since Split, he only probably did about 6 or 7,
He's beefed up
maybe
too.
8 of the personalities. In this, he does fucking nearly all of them.
Yeah.
And it's just so seamless. Like, he'll jump between, like, personalities and that, like, just, like, on a whim.
Yeah.
Like in this. And it was so good seeing Hedwig back. Because I loved Hedwig in Split. I thought
Only
he was
thing
great.
I love James McAvoy's character and everything he does with the characters, but every time he split to another character, it's like they had sentences just ready to go, and it's kind of like if he split, I just wish it was a bit more real. Like it's like he just kept, it's like for no reason he just starts talking about something about bloody something and other. I know they're trying to just get across that what that character is, but it was way too obvious.
It's like if you're a personality that's in the background or whatever in that, and it's like different people, you know. So like a person would just jump in, and this is the kind of person that they are. They would just start automatically introducing themselves and talk about Japanese cinema because that's what they're a professor of or whatever.
Like it was just all like ready to go. They're like all these sentences just like. New character, bang, let's talk about all this. And it's
you're picking that apart in a movie where a guy turns into like a hulking brute and climbs walls.
Yeah, I know, but I like the personalities better when they switch and you can see it more in their face and their eyes, and they don't even have to talk, and it's like you can tell they're a different person. And then
but I feel like all the personalities, we're gonna fight now. I feel like all the personalities in that are really distinct. Like he does a fucking great job. Like every personality has different inflections in the way they speak,
pulled them
and
all
the
off,
different
don't get me wrong.
accents, and there's all.
They were all perfect. Don't get me wrong.
What are you talking about then?
No, I'm talking about the fact that like he acts them all perfect. That's fine. That's not my issue. He's actually really good at acting and doing all those. But I'm just saying when he changes, it's like there has to be. It's like there's deliberately he has to speak. It's like you don't have to just run all these sentences off straight off the bat, like and. It was almost too much, like way too much going on.
Well, if you've got a problem with that, then you can probably blame it on the writing.
I'm talking more about it was more about everything was quite rushed, and it's like it's almost like they're just trying to explain really quick what each personality is, and like you got to get a feel for all the personalities, and it's just like they're just like blah 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 straight away. As soon as they get into a split change, they just have to run their mouth like straight away all the time, and it was just way too much.
All right. Let's jump forward. We'll do the complete ending of the movie. We'll go through the entire third act, and then we'll be able to get free reign to go through and talk about a lot of the things that we didn't particularly like, or reasons behind it. So we get to the third act. We find out that Samuel L. Jackson's been faking his comatose. He gets in with the Horde, and he wants to talk to the Beast, and he talks to him in that, and he's like. the Beast wants to get out there and he wants to be seen by the world. He wants to announce himself. And so Mr. Glass talks him into, there's this new building opening. We'll get you and David out there and you just can have a big fight. There's going to be cameras and everything because it's the opening in this building. There's going to be media and celebrity and all that sort of thing there everywhere. And you'll be filmed having a fight, superhero battle, and the world will see you. And then they can't deny that you are, you know, a true thing. And he's like, great, that's a great fucking idea. Let's do that. So they all get out. They all manage to break out, and they only make it as far as the car park out the front of the Institute. And then they end up having, like, the Beast and David Dunn end up having a big brawl, and they're flipping over cars, and there are all these cops and that coming, and David's trying to punch the Beast. He's punching big fucking fist marks in the side of this van, and all this stuff's happening. And then it turns out that Kevin, the Horde, dies. Elijah Price dies. David Dunn, they all die. And it's, wow.
Don't forget the twist.
There's like one major twist, which is right at the end. Everybody thinks that like the other few things leading up to that are twists, but they're not really. There's only really one major twist, and that's right at the very end. Now,
which I thought was a bit...
Bruce Willis's son reveals that he's been trying to find out what's going on with Wendell's Crumb's parents. So his mother abused him in that when he was a kid, and his dad had died. He finds out that his dad was on the same train that Bruce Willis was on, David Dunn was on, and they were only just sitting a few rows away from each other, back. And he was killed on that train. Now, and then his mother, like, abused him in that, and that's where a lot of the other personalities came forward, and that's where eventually where the Beast came forward. All these personalities had come forward to protect...
So he was left with his shit mum that was...
To protect Kevin.
Like crap, yeah.
And obviously, because Mr. Glass caused the orchestration of that train crash, he is essentially... he is the creator of, or the catalyst of David Dunn finding out about his super abilities, and also for the creation of the Beast. So these events all, you know, tiptoe and eventually lead to the Beast being formed. David and the Beast are fighting. They end up in the water tank. David's weakened, and then this big SWAT team thing and that turns up. Sarah Paulson's there, and then it's revealed that she is actually the member of a secret society that for, she says, 10,000 years, which made me laugh, in the scoff, actually, in the cinema, that they're neither a good nor bad organization. They're neither goodies nor bad guys.
They basically kill villains, and they kill heroes too.
They are essentially...
They wipe them out.
They are essentially a organization that know that superpowered people exist, or people with extraordinary abilities, and they are just trying to keep the playing field even. They're trying to... So the entire world, they're trying to just keep it a secret.
Pretty much made it sound like if they didn't exist, this secret society, that we'd have like friggin' Superman and everyone flying around, you know?
Essentially.
Whereas... if, you know, it's like as if they've wiped everyone out, so they're just it's a normal world.
So they're trying to keep it in check.
Yeah.
But they're not, she says, she's like, we're not killers. Like, we try to, she's like, the best way we found to keep these things hidden is that we convince you that you're actually not superhuman, hence why they're in the institution for the 3 days, and she's trying to convince them, and she almost does convince them, and she says to Bruce Willis, she's like, did I convince you? She's like, did you believe me? And they have these scenes, like, when she takes his hand, and he gets this vision of, it's fucking really stupid.
Yeah.
It's this restaurant scene, and then two people get up and leave, and then all the other people in the restaurant stops talking because they're the secret society, and then they have their big secret society meeting, which is really stupid to have. And they essentially, he gets the true look that, yes, it is true, and they've got like 3-leaf clovers tattooed on their wrists, and this SWAT team that have turned up, they're all part of this society.
Did he say yes,
as well.
did he? He believed her.
No, he never actually said.
Yeah, because I was going to say, like, it's like the same thing you were talking about before. They're pretty much just, they're kind of like ruining the first two movies, because the fact that if he said, like, if he was even convinced, I mean, what do the first movies mean? Like, we've already seen you can do these things, and then he goes and gets convinced that he's normal.
Yeah,
like,
which is
what the fuck does that mean?
Which it's a harder pill to swallow. Not
stupid.
saying that I didn't swallow it.
Yeah.
It's just a harder pill to swallow because we've already seen 2 movies beforehand, which pretty much contradict what everything she's saying.
Yeah,
We've seen
yeah.
the guy climb up walls.
Exactly.
We've seen him have visions of a guy that was actually there that murdered
It's like
these
they're
people
going
and he
against their
stopped
own
it.
movies, you know, it's stupid.
Now, after this, David, because he's severely weakened after being in the water tank, is drowned by one of the goons in a puddle.
In a puddle.
All right. And Elijah dies because the beast kind of crushes him and punches him in the stomach and he's bleeding out. And then he falls out of his chair and all his bones in that break and he eventually dies.
That would have broke his spine and everything, I reckon.
Yeah, and he reveals that he's like, this is not actually like a limited edition, a finale. This is an origin story. Because what actually happens is Sarah Paulson, because she works for the Secret Society, she suspected all along that Mr. Glass, Elijah Price, was kind of like, you know, faking his comatose and stuff. So she had security cameras installed everywhere in the Institute, all through the rooms, in through the buildings, even outside in the exteriors. And she's like, there's not a single area of this Institute that isn't covered by a camera.
Yep.
And we find out the twist in that is that Elijah didn't want to get out and get over to the building and have them fight and see the world. His end goal was actually like a suicide mission. So he was utilizing all these cameras and that he wanted to get out in the car park and get all this footage in that. And he actually streamed it. He sent all this footage to like a secondary location and he sent it to all the like the ancillary characters like Elijah's mum, David's son, and Anya Taylor-Joy, who returns in this movie, who's not as good at... I like her, but she's not as good for other reasons in this movie, which comes down to like time and stuff. But that's the twist. Like, he just wanted to get all this footage and he sends it out to them and then they decide to release the footage out into the world and then everyone sees it and they can't be stopped. Because like I said, it kind of comes to belief. So like when David starts to believe that maybe he's not a superpowered person, his powers in that become affected. And it kind of ends up like that way and that as well. So like if there are superpowered people out there in the world that kind of are unsure of what they are and then they see this footage, they're like, fuck, maybe I'm like that too. They start to test their powers and then we start to get superpowered people everywhere. And that's kind of like, yeah, that's the twist of the story.
Yeah.
Like he got all this footage to get it out into the world. That's why.
I wish they did it in a better way though.
Can we go back to the puddle?
Yeah.
Now, that was a hard pill for me to swallow because to begin with, I was watching it and I'm like, this character I love so much in this movie that I love so much that I really wanted to see a sequel to, and now he's been drowned in a fucking puddle.
That's what I hate.
Can I just
killed him?
Now I've got an example of this, mate.
Yeah.
Now just go with me on this, right?
They're talking about how it could happen.
Just go with me on this, all right?
All right.
Now, Bruce Willis, David Dunn, his powers really manifest because he has this tragic element kind of in his life. So he's in this pool, the kid's in the pool. When he's a kid, they're holding him under and he takes in too much water and he starts to drown. They pull him out. He almost dies. They have to CPR and he comes out of it. Ever since then, he's deathly terrified of water, which essentially which is his weakness, as water is his weakness. Now, whether that's actually true or not, it comes back again to belief. Now, I want to use you as an example, Patrick Brown, because just go with me. Yeah. Just go with me on this. Now, because in the movie, it's like he's in the tank and they fight and he comes out of it, and then his son happens to run past and he's like, he's weakened, help him, and which is why they explained why he was able to hold him in the puddle and drown him like face first in the puddle. Now, coming back to belief. Now, you yourself, Patrick Brown, we've established this before. You've got a bit of a phobia of blood and, to a lesser extent, needles.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah. Is that true? Just needles, not blood, yeah.
Just needles, not blood.
Oh, well, needles in the blood veins. Yeah.
All right, that's enough. It's essentially blood. Now, where do you think this first started for you? We're gonna go deep in your brain here. Now, if just thinking about it in passing, like, because about 15 years ago, you, Bob, and another friend of ours, you guys were were bashed by a group of kids one night out in the town. You just got the fuck bashed out of his Bob's face literally looked like the Elephant Man. Another mate of ours got a bottle smashed over his head. You nearly got your eye knocked out of your head. Then just blood and that. To say, for example, that was a traumatic experience and from that you had to have your eye stitched up with like a needle very close to your eye. Is that true?
Yeah.
That's true. Right. Now, to say, for example, similar thing happened to David with water. Now, this has happened to you with needles and blood. Now, fair to say, blood keeps you going. You know, it's a major part of your body and it's an essential thing, and it's something we shouldn't be afraid of. But, you know, some people do have phobias and that, of haemophilia, or not haemophilia, hemophobia or something like that. I can't remember what it's called, but there's a particular phobia of blood and stuff. Now, I've seen you in instances where you've gotten a blood blister and you've nearly passed out just staring at it, thinking about it.
Yeah.
Fair to say, there was nothing going to happen to you. Like, if that happened to me, I would have looked at it and just went, shit, whatever. You've looked at it and it's had a major effect on you to the point where you've nearly passed out. Now, that comes back to belief and fear and instances that we've had that have shaped us. Now, fair to say, whether that water was actually affecting him, whether he was strong enough, he could have just got up out of that puddle and thrown that guy off him. But it was belief in that instance, that traumatic experience that he had, whether he was truly affected by water or not.
Yeah.
He believed and he was afraid of it so much.
Yeah, I get you.
That it just drained him of everything. And that's why he couldn't get out of that puddle.
Yeah.
Is that a fair argument?
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
That's a pretty fair argument.
Traumatic. He's probably, like...
Because whether it was probably me, like maybe I could have gotten out of that puddle, maybe not.
Yeah.
Like, you know, but for him, water was such a traumatic experience and he's so terrified by it that he just believes that even the thought of water or being close to it or just breathing it in his mouth or whatever, or just bubbling away in it, even if it was just in a shallow puddle, that would be enough for him not to get out of it, to drain him of his strength, so he would drown in that puddle.
This is annoying that they had to kill him. Why did they have to end it, though? Like,
I feel like...
That just... Like, the whole movie, it had a very, like, dead ending. That's like, you know, mind the pun. But, like, if you think about it, all our favourites who we like are dead now. We've got also bleak ending of, you know, this society thing that have been killing off superheroes for ages, and it's just like I just found a very flat kind of negative ending. Nothing good come out of it. You walk away from the cinema just feeling like shit. Because now, I just didn't like that. And I didn't even really like what it left us with, you know, the fact that I know it can open up some more opportunities later if they have other special people. But like you said, I would have loved to see another Bruce Willis movie, you know, go up against another, you know, they could have kind of had at least one more where there's another special, you know, do another split, like kind of a crazy guy who's a serial killer or something that also has a power or something, you know, mind reading or whatever. I don't know, but that would have been great. You could have done another one. You know, he's trying to build this universe, and the director, and he's just gone and killed it all in one chunk. So,
but fair to say, this is a universe that he created, and we liked it. But at the beginning, it was his vision. Unbreakable was something that he chose to do. None of us cared about superhero movies back then, which is why it probably didn't hit as well as it did. You know, that kind of because we didn't know, like, a lot of there's all the stuff we know that's kind of ingrained in us now from watching 10 or 12 years of superhero movies. You know, we know all this shit front to back, which is why there was a lot of stuff in this movie which was like, oh, this is like all this stuff that was really, they were talking about superhero stuff like tropes and all these things, but it was really on the nose. But is it fair to say, because I saw somebody brought up this argument, and something I didn't think of, so I'm stealing this from someone else, but they made a really good fucking point where, like, that stuff was in there, and we know all these tropes and that already, and it was too much. Like, why are you saying this character in this movie? We already know that. Like, the final showdown where the two epic forces clash and they give it their all, and we see who comes out on top. Like, we've seen superhero movies. Like, we know exactly what's going to happen. Is it fair to say that could have been M. Night Shyamalan subverting our expectations, because that's what they expect us. That's what we expect of a superhero movie, and he's putting that in there intentionally to think that the film's going this way, when actually, when we get to that point, he's going to throw a curveball and say, haha, I put this in there, you think we're going this way, but actually I wanted to go this way.
Stupid, because then it's just making us hate, not like the movie, which is not what he should want.
You're really angry, aren't you?
I am. Like, things that say, he's talking up from the last quarter of the movie. They're talking up about this big high-rise they're going to have a big showdown in, and first thing you can think of is, like, I don't really see that happening. He's not... they did be a big budget kind of thing. And,
exactly.
And he's all this talk about it. They keep talking about it and showing little pamphlets of this skyscraper, and
that's the point,
build up for the whole thing.
To subvert your expectations. You expect this is going to happen, but it actually doesn't.
But then it's just this massive letdown because they barely leave the grounds. But
then if they did that thing which they talked about, if they said, we're going to go to this building, and they had a big superhero throwdown in this building, and then the movie ended with all of them still alive, Elijah Price gets away, David Dunn's there to fight another day, and the Horde's maybe been captured again, or he's gotten away, and the movie ended, the credits start to roll, would you feel like you would have watched that and gone, holy fuck, that was the best fucking thing? Or you would have been like, that was so fucking bland. I've seen all that before in 100 superhero movies.
You got me wrong, though. I wouldn't have wanted it in the first place. Even when he put it all in there, I didn't want no big showdown like that. I don't want that. I wanted a real gritty movie like the other two. He had something really good going. He pulled something off in those other two. They're like R-rated, nearly kind of movies that are, more for us adults. We can really thriller type things, and I love that. But this one, he really just, I wouldn't have wanted any of that kind of stuff, big showdowns like that at the end. I wanted it to be more dark and gritty and like just real world. Just keep it very realistic, like something that could happen.
As much as you say this isn't Glass's movie, in one way it really is, because he had this grand master plan from the beginning. Like, was it ultimately his plan for all of them to get in the same institution, for him to, get across his master stroke of getting all this filmed, these two fighting, and get it out into the world? Even though, like, probably McAvoy has the most in this movie, he probably has the most screen time. Yeah, he does. It really is Elijah's movie. Whereas a lot of people will contradict that as well.
If you think about it, if no one had really seen Unbreakable and had only seen Split, you'd probably even call this Split 2, because
essentially it is a sequel to Split.
Because he has most of the screen time, and it's and he's probably one of the most memorable parts about the whole movie. David Dunn kind of drifts off a bit, and Glass is barely in it at all. So
this is really, it feels more like a Split sequel with like hints of Unbreakable, ideas kind of from Unbreakable, kind of like the dissection of the superhero genre, and that, like, her trying to convince them that you're not actually superpowered, even though we've seen for a fact that you do all these extraordinary things, that you're not actually. Those are kind of like, they're the things that I really liked. Like, I will say, like, this is what I really liked. I really liked the first half of the movie. I've come around to it now a bit. I like the movie on the whole. I don't think it's perfect. I really like the beginning. I kind of like where David and that is. I like that him and his son kind of had a tag team, like Batman and Oracle kind of thing going, because his son always believed, like in the first movie, he's going to shoot him because he's like, the bullet will bounce off you. He's like, I'll prove it. Like, you are superpowered. I'm going to shoot you with your own gun. And like, he's believed since that first movie, and you can still see it. You can still see like the kind of childhood wonder, like, in him, even though he's like a 30-odd-year-old man now. He just
felt proud of his dad the whole time. That's what I loved. Just seeing him, he's like really gunning for his dad.
He's like, this is what I knew you were. This is what I knew you always.
And I loved that.
Could be, and it's
tied
just like
into the first one so well.
Yeah, but I really like that. I like the ideas in that it had. I liked a lot of ideas. Do I feel like the end of the movie could have been tightened up and worked a little differently? Yes, I do agree. I've come around to David being drowned in the puddle now, because I pulled it apart, and I came up with a theory that I was comfortable enough with.
I'll be honest, if they're going to kill him off, I just wouldn't have done it like that. I would have done it a bit more of a way where you're like, that, even a bit more.
He went out heroically.
More of a moment as well, like a more kind of a scary moment. You know, remember in the first one and he falls in the pool and it's like, you're actually kind of like, you feel real... You kind of don't want to watch because all the plastics wrapped around him and everything like that. That would have been not that for this. I'm just saying that was really effective, and that was a scary moment. I really wish they did something like that with this, but they chose a puddle. Like I just wish they did a more something different. If they're going to kill him, do it a different way. And give him a moment with his son, or not even that, just have his son trying to save him or something.
He didn't get to have like a moment with his son, like Anya Taylor-Joy had the moment with Kendall.
It's just all throwaway. That's what I thought.
Kevin Wendell Crumb.
Yeah.
Because she finds out, like, that was one thing we haven't even talked about her at all, but she was obviously she was the victim in Split. You know, she managed to, the beast let her go at the end because she was, damaged and, all this.
Unworthy or something.
Whatever. She was pure because she'd felt pain and she'd been damaged and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I picked this apart straight away. The movie set up 3 weeks after, but when we get to her, she's back at school. She's found a foster family. Obviously, she's really comfortable with them because she shows them like the other kids and they're hugging her and stuff. Away. And she's locked her uncle away in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But she's kind of changed because in the second film, like, a lot of her clothing and the way she dressed really reflected her personality because she was shielded.
Yeah.
And, she was hiding, like, all the scars and everything in that.
Yeah.
And now she's, like, her style is, like, completely changed in this one as well. She's more... But she has, like, a connection to... Not essentially the Horde, but to Kevin, the true personality in his body. Like, she feels... Like, she's not there for the Horde. She's there for Kevin. And when she touches him... she grabs his arm. She's able to bring Kevin forward.
I found it a little strange. She was it was understandable because the way they left it in Split, she did kind of get close to them because she was the more open to get close to this psycho kind of guy. She didn't mind, and she did have a relationship with him in a way, but still in this one it was like a bit too quick. It's like I said, 3 weeks ago, and she's not even scared to be in this room with no guards really protecting, just the woman standing there letting her talk to this psycho with no chains, nothing, and she's right there in front of him. And I was just a bit like, have a bit more protection or something, like make it a bit more realistic.
She wasn't afraid, though. She wasn't afraid
he's
of him.
Just, like, killed a bunch of people, and no, I know that, but, like, he could have split to any kind of character that could have harmed her, but, yeah. I don't know, they've just got this teenage girl or something that's just come from high school. Oh, can I just talk to this prisoner, and like have a bit more precautions. They didn't do that. They just kind of like, go ahead, sit in front of him.
You're reading into it way too much.
No, that's what I mean though. It just didn't, it was way unrealistic. They just kind of rushed through things. They're just like, for these, they rushed through a lot in this movie.
There's a lot of ways. I feel like, because Split was a success. Split was a critical and financial success, and it happened to have the Unbreakable tag on the end of it.
Yeah.
Obviously, and then that was the thing, because I wanted to talk about endings and that as well, so we'll get to that in a second, but like from where Split was successful until then where Glass was announced, it was probably only 6-7 months. Yeah. So did he already have a script in that there, or did he have some of the ideas? Because I felt like if there was another probably 5 or 6 months where he was able to like polish the script and maybe tighten it up a little bit more, then the ending probably wouldn't have sat as bad with a lot of people as it has. Like, I'm hearing a lot of people absolutely love the ending, and then I'm hearing people like yourself who absolutely hate it.
Everything's very Split in a way, isn't it?
Split, exactly. That's what it's like.
I've seen,
But yeah, I'm talking about endings and that again because people watch Split and it's a great movie, but the thing that are getting them over the line that make them absolutely love it is that right at the end there's a tag on the end that ties them back to a movie which they're absolutely in love with. So they love that movie even more now because it's connected to something that they love even more so.
It's like a sequel now.
We get to this movie, Glass, and is it a fair question to ask? Like, does a bad ending ruin a good movie? Because this is twofold. Because for Glass, like, it's the third act for people. But then, this is like the third act in this trilogy. So, like, I said this to you the other night when we were standing at the front of the cinema. I'm like, does this kind of I don't know, because does this kind of like cheapen the trilogy for me now?
It did for me, especially the fact that twist at the end, where apparently the reason that James McAvoy's character even exists is because his dad died on the same train with Bruce Willis 20 years earlier. I was like, don't do that, because like I hate it when they do this in all movies and they just tighten up that universe into such a small coincidence that's they're on the same train now and they've turned in, it just makes everything so much smaller. Like I really wanted him to just be some random guy from another place who's just got split personalities. Don't put them close together and now have them linked like that. It's just makes everything too small. They do it with a lot of other movies. They just make coincidences where they're all tied together.
But on the flip side of that same coin, Patrick Brown, Elijah Price is essentially, he's the reason that David Dunn, the Overseer, and James McAvoy, fucking Kevin Wendell Crumb, the Horde, the Beast, he's the reason they exist. You could fair say he's the reason that their superpowers they're created.
Yeah.
He's the catalyst for them being what they are. He's created... Wait, let me finish.
Yeah.
He's created two superpowered people. Like, this guy who's grown up loving comics, like, his entire life. Like, they were his escape because he had a hard childhood and that as well. And they were, like, his escape, and that's a world he fell in love with. And he's created these two people. Now, from that, him creating them and then getting to the situation that's at the end of this movie, him filming all this footage and then sending it off to a final server, and then it goes out into the world. Elijah Price is essentially the catalyst for all superhero creation all over the world. So how many more superpowered people are he going to create?
Yeah, because
it's like a snowball effect. He creates David Dunn. We find out that he's created the Beast eventually, in a roundabout sort of way. And then from that, he uses those two to create a world full of superpowered people. Like this society, this three-leaf clover society, they're not going to hide it anymore. They're not going to keep everybody on a even playing field. He's done it.
Yeah,
now,
I get that.
And that's his.
I mean, what I mean with the coincidence thing, I just wish they still could have done that, have the dad killed off because of Elijah, but don't do it on the same train. Like, if you remember in the first movie, Elijah also went to an airport. Why not put the dad on the plane and have Elijah kill him that way? That way it's not so close. And he's sitting 3 rows behind Bruce Willis, Have it separate, way separate. He's still killed his father and in turn created the split personalities. But have him on the plane you remember in the glimpses from the beginning in the first movie.
Yeah, where he blows up the plane.
And he's like done it. His terrorist attack. He had 3 major terrorist attacks. Put the dad on something else.
Who's to say that from all those terrorist attacks that he created, like he blew up a plane? Who's to say that one kid whose parent was on that didn't create someone else that he doesn't know about? Like, we're reading into this very much now, but he's a character at the pretty much through the entire once a trilogy, because he's only really in the first and the third film. But he's a guy that was like looking for his purpose. Like he wanted to feel like that he wasn't
believed.
A mistake, And then right at the end, before he dies, I can't remember what exactly he says. He's like, his mum's there, and he's like, "I wasn't a mistake, Mama." He's like, "I know now I wasn't a mistake." And she's just like, "You were spectacular." She's like,
that's right.
He's like the reason that all these people will now exist. These gods among men, will exist, and that was something that he did. Whether the way he did it was good, bad, right, or wrong. That's the way that.
Very good.
Very divisive movie. It's funny to say that, like, everything that M. Night Shyamalan's been through, like the ups and downs in his career, like The Sixth Sense, Unbreakable, Signs, The Village, and then he kind of went downhill for a good 6, 7, 8 years. And then he managed to, like, come back a bit with The Visit, which I don't think he really had any money. He put his house up against that movie, like, to get the money to finance that movie, and then no one wanted to take it. That was a minor success and was kind of critically pretty good. And then, obviously, with Split, and then that took off, and then, now with Glass, it's fair to say that, we haven't... when was the last time? It was probably 10, 12 years ago when like an M. Night Shyamalan movie came out and it caused this much discussion. This is all I'm hearing anywhere. People are talking about Glass. Everybody's having different opinions, different interpretations. They loved it. They hated it. They loved some of it. They hated the rest. They loved most of it and they didn't like this one bit. You know, and there's so much discussion. When was the last time we had this much discussion about an M. Night Shyamalan movie?
Not necessarily a good thing though, because you would have loved all positive.
Yeah, but still, at the same time, no one's talked about one of his movies like this probably since The Sixth Sense, honestly.
I think
like this much talk.
The reason that people are talking so much is because the other two are so good. And it's like, this one should have been a good tie-off.
You're so fucking dirty on this movie, aren't you?
Yeah, I would have loved it to be the same movie it is, just without the asylum stuff and
I liked the asylum stuff though.
I didn't mind it until she started going like it just got all weird.
The bit I got dirtiest about was like the secret society, but then at the same time, like if take the society out of the movie, like if that wasn't completely there at all,
they would have had to have a different storyline.
Yeah. What's to say? Like Elijah could have easily have filmed them fighting and put it out into the world and it wouldn't have made as much impact. Like, he's a guy who's incredibly smart. Obviously, he probably knows about this society, whoever they are. He's known about them and he knows that whatever he does, they are going to fight against him and try to disprove that all these things, all these super heroic things, all these larger-than-life people don't actually exist. So he's planning for this. If they didn't exist in this movie, like his victory, inverted commas, like his ultimate goal, getting out into the world, would have less of an impact. Does that make sense?
They still could have done something similar. I'm just saying, I would have even loved a movie where it's like, you know how I said it was very rushed, this movie? I would have loved to even see the first 15 minutes where they're up to the warehouse and that. I would have loved to see that stretched out to a full-length movie and then have a lot of other... You could have more, like, you got to have Glass in some way interpreting it, but just, like... You got to think of it, Unbreakable. That first 15 minutes is like Unbreakable. He spends his whole time in the movie. It's spaced out. It's all this interesting stuff happens, and then at the end, you got him saving someone from a serial killer and stuff. Do something like that, but then have Glass in there, and then you could have some kind of still do the bloody secret thing if you wanted to, but just
but then I feel like it like what you're describing to me is not. For good or bad, isn't an M. Night Shyamalan movie. That's just a more generic, run-of-the-mill movie that anyone could make. Yeah. That's just what that kind of sounds like to me.
Obviously, there would have been more to it. I would have loved to see
I understand what you're saying. Like, I'm not trying to shit on your idea or anything, but I'm just trying to make you see it from all sides. Yeah. But, like, the last thing I'll say, like, because we could sit here and talk about this for another fucking... We could ramble about this for another fucking hour and a half. But the last thing I'll say is that the world we live in with the films that are churned out now, like a good example that I actually watched, I didn't bring it up. I'll bring this up on our next show, The Predator. I watched The Predator. I forgot to bring that up. We'll talk about that.
You liked it, didn't you?
You just ruin it. I liked it. Now, look at The Predator, for example. Now, Shane Black directed The Nice Guys, Iron Man 3. He's an incredibly capable director. If you leave him to his devices, like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is a fucking great movie. Like, if you just leave him and let him do what he originally plans, it'll probably turn out great, for better or worse. The Predator does not feel like a Shane Black movie. The Predator is studio interference. Test audiences didn't like this. Let's refilm this. The movie feels like a fucking hodgepodge and the ending's fucking terrible. And it doesn't feel like a Shane Black movie. For good or bad, whether you liked it or not, for better or worse, this movie feels like an M. Night Shyamalan movie. This feels like everything that he wanted to do up on the screen. It feels like it's completely... his vision. It's not like there's studio interference or anything, whether you like it or not. And you could say positively, because we always talk about, fucking imagine what this movie would have been like if the studio didn't interfere. It made them change the ending or whatever. Imagine that. Like, this is one movie where we don't have to worry about it. And just for that fact alone, we just had to give this movie just that little bit extra credit.
So I thought of it the other way, because the first two, I kind of see them as like passion projects. They're really good because it seems like he had his heart into it. But this one, I thought it seemed like the studio was involved because it was all, it's he obviously is more popular now after Split and everything, and I think this one had a bit more of a hype going.
You're saying it feels like
it was a mess.
He kind of had to claw his way back with like The Visit and Split, and then he kind of like shit the bed a little bit.
Yeah, this one just felt like he didn't know what he was doing with
because he always throws in like a lot of lofty ideas, and a lot of times they don't pay off.
And the way that, like I said, this felt very rushed. Like that first 15 minutes could have been way stretched out and more interesting, where it's just like they're like, okay, we've got to do this. Oh, he bumps into him. Oh, he finds him. This and that happens all in like 10 minutes, and then the fight scene happens, and it's all just like bang, bang, bang. This is just happening to show us stuff, you know, where it's not intriguing because it's not. They're just rushing through, just so they can get to the main stuff. But yeah, that's how I saw it anyway. I'll stop talking now.
Let's wrap it up.
Let's wrap it up.
Patrick Brown, would you recommend Glass?
I recommend it if you're a fan of the movies. The other ones, you've got to see this one. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a bad, like, terrible movie. It's just, for me, personal opinion, it's probably a bit less than a medium for me.
What would you give it out of 5?
Out of 5?
Yeah.
2.5.
Yep.
2.
2 out of 5.
2.5, just because.
2.5 out of 5.
2.5 out of 5.
5 out of 10.
Yeah, it's not completely terrible. It's just I didn't like the directions it went. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I love seeing the characters back. I'll give it that. And McAvoy was brilliant. They're all brilliant, actually, in acting wise. It's just the direction that everything went.
I would definitely recommend it. Watch it with a group of friends, because then afterwards you'll sit around and talk about it for 3 hours, what you did and didn't like. Whether you like it or not, I definitely recommend it because it will create a lot of conversation.
Just prepare to be disappointed. Anyway.
I am going to be super controversial. I don't think I can give it a rating because I feel like I need to watch it again.
You haven't got a final rating.
Before I can really give it something that I'd be happy to sit on. Because normally I'll watch a movie and be like, this is whatever. I don't know. We just watched it 10 minutes ago. 3 out of 5.
But it's not one of those you wouldn't pay to see it again, would you, at the cinema? You'd wait for it to come out.
I think I'm going to go see it again tomorrow.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because I've got to put my car in to have the airbags changed. It's going to take a couple of hours. I'm going to go to the cinema, and I think the only thing that's playing is Glass. Well, so I think I'm going to go watch it again.
Well, that says a lot. If you're going to go, if you're happy enough to pay,
I
want to
see it again. I want to those expectations out of the way, and I now unpacking it a bit.
I'm glad you like it. It's
I do like it. I don't feel it's perfect. There are some things I didn't like. There are some things that I'm more comfortable with now that I've walked away. I've been away from the movie for like 3 days, and I've unpacked it, and I've kind of come to terms with it a bit more. But so I'm not going to put a rating on it, but I'll definitely recommend that you go see it.
All right, cool. That was heated.
That was like
not really heated. I'm just a bit. I think
it was a long talk.
Yeah. I feel sorry for anyone that's going to have to
listen to that. Yeah, you did. You for 5 minutes. I'm Patrick Brown.
I was like, I want to.
Patrick Brown and Marvel's the best. Fuck Glass.
No.
This is the worst superhero movie. I'm a Marvel man.
No,
send me the checks, Marvel.
No. I love the other two. No, they were good. I just wish it was like the other two. All right, I'll stop. I can't keep going on.
Pat, we've got an announcement.
Oh, yes.
We do have an announcement. I want to go over it. I'm going to get real. I'm going to put my real face on. Last month, when we did our Spider-Verse show, and I announced we weren't going to do a second, our end of year show, is because I wasn't feeling well, whatever. I was like, playing it up. I nearly went to the hospital and whatever, which I nearly did. But, I feel comfortable to kind of talk about it because I feel like these are the sort of things that, people in general should talk about, and men and that especially. I was getting real stressed, and I get like a lot of anxiety, and I have done for years, and I only sort of just realized kind of in the last 4 or 5 years about how much like anxiety and that actually has affected my entire life, like looking back in retrospect. And I was having like a lot of panic attacks last month. Like in the last month, I probably had 3 or 4 panic attacks. For differing reasons, coming up to Christmas, work was real flat on. I only had 1 day off over Christmas. I knew that. I had podcasts I had to put out. There are things late. People are having events before Christmas I got to go to, all these other things. There are Christmas presents I got to buy. It all comes back to money and all that sort of, all these things you got to worry about. And it was all just getting on top of me. And I was just getting like a lot of anxiety and like a lot of stress, and I was having panic attacks and stuff and like lots of chest pains and whatever, which have since subsided, since the stress has subsided. So that really just goes to show like kind of what a lot of what this is. But to be honest, with the podcast, in regard to the podcast, I don't know if you've really noticed. You've probably noticed that Bobby Baxter hasn't been here. He hasn't been here for a very long time. Bobby's essentially left the show, pretty much. Not anything spiteful or anything like that. Like, fuck you guys, I'm out of here or whatever. There's nothing like that. Like,
no.
Bob's just got a lot on his plate, and he's got his own stuff he wants to do, and he just wanted to focus on that as well. And personally, like for him and that as well, like it's the guy gets a little bit anxious than himself, and talking in front of a mic and stuff and have it put out into the world is induces a little bit of anxiety for people, which is like, it's to be fair. And, it's not the easiest gig. It's not the easiest thing to do. And doing a weekly show is very hard. So Bob kind of stepped away, and he wants to focus on his, his family and his work and his own projects and that, which is totally fine. Like, I miss the guy, I do. And I will say it kind of hasn't been the same for me since Bob left, because like, this show started as like, it was just like me and my two best friends, and we would just sit around. We've known each other for nearly fucking 20 years, and we just sit around and talk about all this shit that we like, and we just, it was really fun for me, and it's a good excuse to get together with all you guys and to see each other and just to shoot the shit and have a few beers or whatever, and just put it out into the world and see if people like it. But now that Bob's gone and that, like, we've tried to go on, and, like, I'm not saying that fucking, like, because Russell, Iona, Jake, all these extra people that get on, they're all fantastic. They're funny and they're great. But just for me, I've lost a little bit of passion for the podcast. I've gone down a notch. Like, it's starting to, at times, it feels more like a chore than fun. Which is something that I never wanted it to be. I never wanted it to be a chore. I always wanted it to just be fun. And it's just hard trying to organize people to, because everybody has so much going on. It's hard trying to get people into the same room just so we can do something like this every week. So I did decide that I was going to wrap up. I'm wrapping up the show for good. I decided that Beer to Geeks podcast, I was going to wrap it up. But we're going to go to episode 100. So what are we now? We're episode 77. So after this episode, we've got 22 more episodes to go. And then I was going to wrap it up. I decided I didn't just want to cut it off and be like, it got to 80 episodes and then we just stopped. Like I want to feel like I got to a certain point and we did 100 episodes. Yeah. That's no fucking small feat. No. 100 episodes. That's a lot of content out there for people to enjoy. So I decided that we'll get to 100 episodes, and our 100 episode will be our last. I've spoken to Pat. He tried to talk me out of it, but he eventually agreed with me, and I've been sitting on that probably for the last few weeks.
Yeah.
But the other night, we saw Glass, and then we stood out in front of the cinema in the middle of the night for nearly 45 minutes talking about this movie, and I was like, I love this so much. This is what I like to do.
Because we were just chatting away.
And then we started to talk about the podcast, and we're talking about wrapping it up, and then I said to Pat, how about we go to episode 100, and then we'll take a hiatus. We'll take a long hiatus. It might be 6 months. It might be 2, it might be 3, it might be 6.
Yep.
But we'll get to 100 and we'll go on hiatus and we'll just have a lot of time off. Because I work really early. I get sick all the time lately. I get real stressed and it's all getting a bit too much. So I thought if we get to 100 and then we take a break and then we'll see how we feel after that. So we may get to 100 episodes and that may be it. And may be the end of it. Or it might not be. So I just wanted to let everyone know, and I want to thank everyone too, I guess, for tuning in. And if you hear this now and you're like, oh, well, fuck this, then I'm not listening to this show anymore, feel free to jump off. Like, I'm not going to blame you. But we're still going to be around for another 6-8 months. We got another 20-odd episodes to go. We got Resident Evil 2 coming up. We got
that's heaps.
Fucking Red Dead 2 episode, which we haven't done yet. We got Captain Marvel. We got Avengers Endgame. We got another bloody Spider-Man movie. We've got We're going to do our Terminator Genesis audio commentary.
Yeah.
It's finally happening. I think next month it's happening. Bob is coming in. I spoke to Bob. I told him about the end of the show, and he's like, I want to come in for a few more episodes. He's got a lot of free time next month, so he's going to come in for a few episodes.
Very
and
good.
He'll definitely be in for the 100th episode.
We'll all line that up so we can all be there.
And we're just gonna keep doing what we're doing, and we'll see how we go. And I just want to thank everyone for listening, and thank everyone for sticking around. And
thanks everyone.
Thank you, mate. Like, cause you're my fucking shoulder, man.
Thank you for running this thing. I always love coming. It's good. Whenever I can make it, I really love it. I look forward to it.
Because I call you, and I just always run podcast stuff by you.
It's nice to brainstorm, isn't it? When you're trying to come up with ideas, and
So even if we get to this hiatus period and we decide we're going to change the format, even if we rebrand, if we decide to not do weekly anymore, we're going to do fortnightly shows, or even if we do a monthly show, or we're going to cut it down, we're going to do a specific thing, or we're just going to make it a half hour.
I think that'd be a good idea. A bit of a break, however long, it'll help you, and then you're always going to have that urge. You'll come out of the cinema and you'll be like, holy shit, I want to talk about this. Let's do a show. There will always be something to talk about, and you're going to have that kind of, it is a passion of yours, and this is your baby, so you will probably want to hang on to it. So I just want to get that out there, and like, mental health is very important. Like, if you're straining yourself, like, find time for yourself, take a break, because you don't want to, because you will end up in hospital otherwise. Like, you work too much, you get your personal life, you do something on the side, you've got a passion project, you've got all these other things, you're splitting yourself in 40 different directions. It's just, it can get a lot. And I've just felt real run down lately, and but I feel like if we've got something to shoot toward now, so we've got another 20 odd episodes to go. So, but it might get to the point where maybe we put out a couple episodes a week. Maybe we put out, there might be a week where we put 2 episodes out, but that necessarily won't be every week. Or there might be a week where we do end up taking a bit longer of a break. But this year we're going to get to 100 episodes, and then after that we're going to have a hiatus. And let's hear from you guys. Like, is there something particular that you want us to do? Is there stuff you like? Like, tell us what you do and don't like, and we'll try to tailor the show a bit more accordingly. And even if we make the show shorter and we cut out a lot of the bullshit, or we try to cut the time down, or we'll try to tailor it a bit more to what you want to hear and that as well. So let us know. Thank you for letting me rant about this. And if you're disappointed about the possible end of the show, don't worry, because there'll be 100 episodes on YouTube forever. You can go back and revisit. And I've loved this. This is not the end. This is not the end. We'll just see how things go. And we're not going anywhere. If we're going somewhere, it's not going to be fucking for a while. So it's an origin story.
It's an origin story. It always comes back to glass. Patrick Brown, thank you very much for coming in.
No worries, mate. I'm always here.
I'm going to head off. Our next episode is going to be Dragon Ball Super Broly.
Ooh. Oh, yeah.
So, Dragon Ball fans,
I already told you that.
He's going to get his Super Saiyan wig, and he's going to wear it to the cinema. He's very excited.
People behind me will be screaming at me because they'll want to.
They'll be like, oh my god, it's Goku.
No, they'll be like, get the fuck out of my way. Because I've had this big wig.
Just fucking her out of the way.
Throwing popcorn at it. Nah, I won't get a wig.
Thank you very much, everyone. I hope you can discern something from that glass chat we had, because there's a lot there.
That was heavy.
Thanks very much, everyone. I guess we'll see you next week.
Yeah.
On the Peter Geek Post. It's been a while. See you next week, everyone.
Yeah. Hey!